Welcome everyone to the Philippine Geographical Society Lecture Series 2021. This program is organized by the Philippine Geographical Society in partnership with the UP Department of Geography. I am Oni Martinez and I will be the moderator for this afternoon. It's an opportune time to talk about GIS and geospatial solutions from the industry perspective because today, November 17, various mapping communities and geography advocates around the globe are celebrating GIS Day. Founded on initiatives to promote geographic awareness, various events are being organized today focused on the applications of GIS for education across a multitude of academic disciplines. The lecture today complements these efforts as our speaker will be sharing actual examples of the ways industries use geospatial tools to transform current approaches and practices in the building industry. For this session, we invited our alumni of the younger batch to share with us the current innovations with GIS applications in the fields of engineering and infrastructural development. This afternoon, we also invite our audience to another exciting discussion on building efficient and safer infrastructure through the use of spatially enabled decision support systems. Before we proceed, let me just go over our house rules for tonight's program. During the presentation, attendees will be on mute, but we encourage you to interact with the audience and with our speaker by typing your comments and questions in the chat box here in Zoom. Questions will be addressed during the open forum. This lecture is being simultaneously streamed in the UP Department of Geography YouTube channel. And also, please note that this meeting is being recorded and will be made available for viewing after the event. And just to give you a heads up, we will be taking a group photo before the end of the meeting, so please be ready to turn on your camera for that part of the program. To begin our session, may I call on Professor Eman Garcia, the President of the Philippine Geographical Society, to give the opening remarks.
Thank you, Oni. It's always a joy to welcome everyone to the PGS Lecture Series. The PGSLS is a monthly knowledge-sharing talk and conversation among geography practitioners, alumni, and allies in the field, showcasing research and practice focused on the Philippines. This is the 14th lecture of the series. We started in January of this year and is co-sponsored by the UP Department of Geography. For this session, our invited speaker will be covering geospatial innovations in engineering and construction industry, showing how these industries use geospatial application to transform and challenge their usual ways of working. Using our registration entries for this lecture, we produced the following word cloud. Dominant words include future, development, technologies, progress, amazing, multi-use, and forward motion, to name a few. Other entries include revolutionary, flexible, artistic, and brilliant. Let's see how this play up in tonight's lecture. On this note, I would like to thank everyone for joining us tonight. On behalf of the Philippine Geographical Society and the UP Department of Geography, welcome everyone, and as always, I hope we have a very special and productive session. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Eman Garcia. And tonight, our presenter is Ms. Patricia Algura. She is a graduate of the BS Geography program. She is from our department, Department of Geography in the University of the Philippines in Diliman. She works as a geospatial consultant now at Jacobs under the Digital Solutions division. She's a creative and a solutions person that has always been passionate about maps and the vast applications of GIS. She's been involved in various projects in utilities, engineering, local government, and national agencies across the Philippines, and also overseas, for example, in Australia, in New Zealand, and in Singapore, enabling organizations to digitally transform and innovate with geospatial solutions. So friends, let's welcome to our session this afternoon, this late afternoon or tonight, Ms. Pat Algura. Pat, so take the floor. The floor is yours now.
Hello, good evening. So close to the evening. Thank you for this opportunity again to present, especially today that is GIS Day. So before I start, I just like to greet everyone of Happy GIS Day. And then in this month's PGS Lecture Series, I'm glad to share and pique your interest about what's happening in the engineering and construction industry in terms of geospatial innovations to build efficient infrastructures. Again, I'm Patricia Algura. I'm a BS Geography graduate, and now I'm working as a Geospatial Consultant at Jacobs under the Digital Solutions team. And I also just want to introduce our Jacobs, and it is our company's goal to keep challenging today by using our expertise and knowledge to consistently rethink and challenge the way we do things and solve problems. We reinvent tomorrow with our the outcome of our innovations to create a more connected and sustainable world. And I like to think that we as geographers are the integrators of the world. We are the link to all of the other disciplines from economics, business, engineering, history, environment, sciences, archaeology, sociology, agriculture, and medicine, just to name a few. And in the engineering industry, as a geospatial consultant, I bridge the gap between the engineers, the project managers, and non-technical stakeholders through geospatial technology. And we are mainly utilizing ArcGIS and FME tools to analyze and understand the what, the where, the why of things. We allow stakeholders to collaborate, and we help them be informed and make better decisions. For this series, I'd like to present some of these applications through 3D visualization, spatial analysis, story maps, field operations, GIS dashboard, automation, and more. So I won't be covering the other applications, so I'll be focusing on these 6 innovation, but I'm sure there's a lot more of geospatial applications in the engineering industry. So I'd like to start with the 3D visualization. So 3D visualization allows us to represent a scale of real-world objects to aid construction planning. It helps us since it is more versatile and accessible for non-geographers, since they have a view of what things are on the ground. So as you can see, this is actually a CAD drawing provided by our engineers. And we were able to visualize it through 3D maps. So this is the red areas are cut. Cut is the area where the topography will be cut during the construction. And then the green areas are actually the fill. So these are areas that would be filled during the construction. And this is the road alignment. And it allows us to visualize the construction designs and identify possible obstructions before the construction commences. It also allows us to visualize the look and outcome of a construction, and it helps us communicate the impact to the stakeholder. So another example here would be to visualize, this is MRT4. So we had this model, so we were able to visualize it through 3D. Later on, I'm going to show you the application that utilizes this design. And we also integrate BIM, which is a building information model to produce error-free building management plans that would eventually allow for a more detailed analysis of our data. And aside from that, we also use geospatial technology for spatial analysis, of course. We use it to identify sewers, for example, that may get overflow. This is an example of that analysis. So we did an analysis called TWI, which is Topographic Wetness Index, to quantify the topographic control on hydrologic processes. And then these points are the location of sewers. So, and then they are symbolized, those points that are symbolized in red are actually the sewers that have high TWI, and they have a high probability of overflows when, for example, it rains heavily. And then we also use spatial analysis for identifying problematic pipes. It could be part of the water network that have low velocity and have the potential of having biofuels or magbabara. And we use that to identify yung mga pipes na pwedeng maging problematic, and then later on they use it as a guide to increase yung velocity of water for self-clean ng mga pipes. And then we also do multi-criteria analysis, or MCA, which is used to design and evaluate and select yung decision alternatives by overlaying different data and applying various weights based on their impact. And aside from that, we also do analysis to identify the stakeholders that may be affected by construction. So we could initiate the conversation with them, contact them, get all of their information, and get them informed of the construction that's gonna happen, since it will be impacting them. So aside from the 3D visualization and spatial analysis, we are also utilizing story maps. So story maps allows us to narrate the construction planning. It aids us in stakeholder engagement, and it also serves as a digital reporting tool now. So we are trying to shift from the traditional PowerPoint presentation that is kind of static, and we are already utilizing story maps for the users to visualize the story with the map, interact with the app and the map, and the impact is more realized since people are aware of where all of these things are happening. And we integrate it with other apps as well for people to dive in more into the data, go into the model, and be informed of what really is happening. And then aside from that, we also do apply geospatial technologies for field operation. So we use it for asset inspections and tree inventory survey. So here is a example of that form. We transformed, so our engineering team was previously using paper-based form during their inspection, which is very vulnerable to be destroyed but in case of a bad weather. But now they are utilizing digital forms. They could use it on their tablet, on their smartphones, and we made their field operation very efficient, since before they are doing their operation for 2 months just to complete their inspection. But now they were able to do it in a week, and we are sure that their data is clean. And with this technology, it also allows us to identify problems and even correct data errors while they are on the field. So for us, it allows us to save time and budget, and we also able to monitor them while they are on the field. So we have this GIS dashboard which works hand in hand with these mobile applications. So while people are on the field, we know how many assets are being inspected, what are their status. We have a summary. We have all of the information for each assets. And at a glance, we already know what's happening on the field. And as I've mentioned, these GIS dashboards allows us to have a summary of our data through map, through graphs, charts, and indicators. And it allows us to identify, for example, a cost of failure. So this is a example of that dashboard. So we use it to do with our water treatment plant operation. So all of our water treatment plants, or the client's water treatment plants, are mapped. We know all of the assets that there is on that water treatment plant. We know all the failures that are on those water treatment plant. We know how many failures, and we know the cost that would entail for these failures. And we also get damage reports, and we know the cost. So this aids the planning for succeeding years on where they would be budgeting all of their money. And then this is another example of capital expenditure for projects. They were able to monitor the incident rates. So this data is actually coming from another system, and we were able to integrate here. And then we also use it for workforce assignment. So we know who is doing what, where are they, what's the status of their work through this dashboard. And not just so I've mentioned all of these applications. So, but what makes this efficient for us is we do some of the repeatable tasks with automation. So, for example, we were able to automate the creation of reports of asset inspection. So, a while ago, I showed you how we are utilizing digital smart forms to collect or to do asset inspection on the field. And now we are also able to automate the creation of report through templates. So before, they're doing this process for 2 months as well. So 2 months for doing the inspection on the field, and then another 2 months to do these reports. But now with automation and these templates, we were able to do it in just a day. And we are sure that there are no typographic errors or data errors that are being inputted on the reports that are being submitted on the clients. And we also have the information about where these assets are. We have the photo, their status, and their any additional comments there is based on what is being collected on the field. And to make it more efficient for spatial analysis and to make it reusable for other use cases, we also automate spatial analysis using models. So this is just a simple example of a model that allows you to select the data that intersects with the base case or road alignment. So this is an example of there is a road construction that's gonna be done in this area, and we wanna know who are the stakeholders or land tenure interest holders will be affected. And we need to do that in a large data set. So to make it efficient, we did this model. And since the road alignment would be changing through time, since it's undergoing and designers are changing it based on different factors, we had this model. So we just need to run it every time there's a new base or new alignment for that road. And it is very useful if you are working on large data sets. And we are also using FME. FME is a data integration software that allows you to connect data from across different sources or different systems. It allows you to import different data formats and convert them to something else, and you could also transform it and manipulate your data. And then this is just an example of a FME workbench workflow where the result of these analysis is being used in this model to create a list of all the land tenure interest holder that will be affected by a construction. So a sample output of that is just an Excel file with all the details about those land tenures with the address, the contact number, and then with that we could start communicating with all of them. And of course, I will not be contented with this presentation without doing a solution showcase. So for this one, I'm just gonna be showing you what we are doing with Project Gateway, which allows us and the stakeholders to collaborate. We also have Project Mapper and then Story Map. So here is a example of Project Gateway. So Project Gateway is the main tool for all of our stakeholders to collaborate. This is the main site everyone is working on. We have the map to the project, and we have the links to different mapping applications, data sources, information exchange among the stakeholders, the project information, and other sites. You could actually link anything into this portal as
Pat,
needed.
excuse me.
Yes,
Are you
sir.
showing something? Because nothing is showing right now.
Wala pa ba?
Oo. Mag-share ka dapat. Thanks.
Ayan, sir.
Okay. There you have it. Yeah.
So ito yung project mapper. Again, this is the common platform where our stakeholders collaborate, and you could link anything into this site. For example, we have here a mapping application called Project Mapper. So Project Mapper, this is being used by a lot of our stakeholders, from engineers, from people in the environment sector. So for example, this is a road construction where the road construction will be done. And we have various layers where everyone is utilizing. So for example, if we go here into this area, so an environmental planner goes here and checks on the road design. So he just turns on all of the layers that he needs. So for instance, let's turn on the environment data just to check where are the habitats of some species. So let's try turning on northern coal habitat, and this should turn on also some of these species. So these are being surveyed and considered for planning the location of the road construction. And it allows also the users to add their own data through if they have any shapefile, URL, or any services, they could add it here in the application. And I think one of the useful tool for them is this draw tool. For instance, if they just wanna draw lines here, or and then they could print it out and then do also measurements. And then aside from that, we also have the 3D mapper, which allows them to view the construction design realistically through the project 3D scene viewer. And it is integratable with other apps as well to include forms and do fly-throughs and bookmarks. So if we want to emphasize specific area on that construction, we could add bookmarks, and we also allow the user to add their own for their own use. And another useful or benefit of 3D is You could input all of the data you need. For instance, this is the road alignment. You could add in, so we did a flood model, which is included in the planning phase. So before the plan was, there are two options, which is the east and west of the railway. So this is a railway. So in order to choose the best location for that road, so this is already, this is not yet final, but they were able to narrow the location of where to construct this road. So as you can see in this west or east section, the flood, there is a high probability of flooding in here. So the preferred location would be here in the west. And then another example would be this story map. So this is a story map that we are also utilizing for reporting and engaging with our stakeholders. So instead of doing PowerPoint presentations now, we are really motivated to incorporate map location with our with our story. So this is just an example. We input the story here. We could input our image and add the map and allow the user to really interact with it. So if there are any data that we want the user to really dive to that data, this is very useful for us. And then here is an example of another 3D app. So this is just an example of the MRT4. So we were able to visualize the design, what it would look like. And people could really explore this app on their own. So there's a lot of applications. These are not all of it, but I hope this helps you or this inspires you or gives you an idea of what we are doing in the engineering industry. And I just like to end this presentation by saying that geospatial technology is essential in building efficient and safer infrastructure. And we as geographers, we should really continuously innovate and bridge the disconnect between the disciplines. These are just few of the things we've been working on, and I know there's a lot of more exciting innovations to come, such as the growing application of AI, machine learning, and deep learning in GIS. So if you are interested in any of these applications, or it piques your interest and you want to know more, feel free to reach out to me. So that's all, and thank you.
Thank you, Pat, for your comprehensive presentation on the different innovations that Jacobs and your team have been working on with other collaborators and partners in different places in the world, right, Pat? Maraming salamat. We are now open to your questions. No? So we're now inviting our audience, whether you're joining us via YouTube or you're joining us here in Zoom, please feel free to type in your questions sa ating chat box and also to join the discussion through the comment box that you will find in our live streaming at YouTube. So would there be anyone who would like to ask Pat, our speaker, some questions? Pwede nyo rin gamitin ng inyong microphone, no? We just need to acknowledge and perhaps you can raise your hand if you want to directly ask Pat or to ask your questions using your microphones. questions? May I ask the first question if that's the case? Is it okay? Sige. Pat, thank you so much. Actually, there's a question now. If it's okay, sige, I'll allow one of our audience members, if I can mention, because I know him. Hi, John Vincent. The question is for the web app builder for Project Mapper. Did you use any code or just template?
So for the project mapper, the web app builder has the capability for you to do some HTML coding. So this example uses some of HTML coding, but I'm sure you could figure it out, Dido.
Thank you for that question, Nido. Would there be other questions from our audience? Otherwise, perhaps I can ask the next question for Pat. Pat, can you just, I believe there are a lot of students who are watching us now either through YouTube or Zoom, and perhaps parang novice practitioners in the same area that you're working on. Can you siguro briefly describe more what FMEs are and how they facilitate or augment the integration of data and these different solutions, no? For it to create actionable information for planners and for decision makers.
So FME tool is a data integration software. So you could have different data sources, different data formats. It is a ETL tool, so extract, transform, and load tool. And you could import this data, do data manipulation, transformation, and come up with any analysis. It also supports spatial analysis. And they actually have free resources that you could use to explore on it if you want. They have a FME Academy, which is free, and it also allows you to request your own lab and your own software to test it out.
Thanks, Pat. There's another question coming from our colleague, TJ. How do these tools help policymakers make key and sound decisions to build safer infrastructure that accounts for various environmental risks in a particular area?
So as I've mentioned, these tools allows different stakeholders to really visualize what is happening on the ground, and it helps the policymakers, which is that may be non-technical person, to understand. For instance, there you have a data of environmental risk in a particular area. They could analyze how those environmental risk affects your construction, and build a safer infrastructure, and they could take that as an account. That's why there are also we also apply spatial analysis to consider these factors, and you could apply different weights based on importance of these risks.
Thank you, Pat, and thank you, TJ, for that question. Would there be other members of our audience who would like to ask a question for Pat? Yes, Ma'am Kathy, go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Hi, Pat. Thank you for that very nice presentation. Thank you for that very nice presentation, Pat.
Thank you, Ms. Kathy.
It's very timely. Said earlier that it's GIS Day, and here you have the presentation showing a showcase of a lot of the different GIS applications. I may only also mention that in our audience, whether here in Zoom or in YouTube, there could be students or even geographers who might be interested to go into this line of work. Um, your advice how to step in to the world of GIS to explore the wonderful world of geography beyond static paper maps and going into 3D dynamic maps. Yeah, we'll be interested to hear about your advice.
So since undergrad, I've really been interested with maps and GIS. So this has been the career path I've been pursuing since then. And just to give them an advice on how to really come here is to be motivated, start your being curious with these different technologies, um, continuously think of ways of doing things better. Like for example, you could just search on how to do this spatial analysis, and you could already get a lot of resources. And I've started also at Geodata, where they have provided a lot of trainings and all of these technologies with ArcGIS. And since then, I've been really knowledgeable of these technology and just continuously growing and studying more of these applications using other platforms as well.
Thank you, Ma'am Kathy, for that question. We still have other questions here. Pat, Sir Joseph is asking, have there been cases where what's shown in geovisualizations did not match the one on the ground?
Yeah, yes, sir. There are cases, and that's the part where we do the validation on the field. So this technology allows us to narrow it down before we narrow it down the information, and then we do the field inspection or validation once we narrow it down. So it saves us more time. So instead of, for example, i-check mo lahat yung locations. So instead of checking 10 locations, but by applying GIS before going to there, you will just be doing your validation to three locations. So it saves time, it saves budget, and we could also consider yung safety rin ng tao before we allow them to go to the field.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sir Joseph. There are two more questions here sent to us via YouTube. Thank you, Arvin Jake, for sending these questions. The first question is, do you conduct trainings to teach people how to utilize these geospatial technologies? And in relation to that, how did you find out about such technologies, and how does it feel like being a geographer within this kind of work or doing this kind of work?
Thank you for that question. So at Jacobs, we're not providing trainings for GIS. I can direct you to Miss Cathy. They provide trainings for ArcGIS, and I think there's a lot of open source trainings as well. For S3, they have the online training. And then for QGIS or other platforms, for FME, as I've mentioned, they also have different platforms to learn. So it's just really about getting curious of what is out there and what platform or software is on trend, and just don't be afraid to dive in and take testing on these applications.
Thanks, Pat. So I think there's a lot of interest among our students with the kinds of technologies that were introduced or presented to us by our speaker tonight. And for other questions that you might have, wag po tayong mahiya. Please participate actively. Take this opportunity to ask the questions that you might have in mind to our speaker. Otherwise, Pat, I think they want to communicate with you beyond what the time allows for us tonight. So maybe you could also inform our audience if they want to reach you and maybe ask questions or consult you, no? Would you have email address or parang contact that you can provide?
Sige po. I'll just drop it here in the chat.
Yes. Thanks, Pat. Our part of our audience, Miss Tindera Fera, she said, many thanks to our resource person this evening. Much appreciated po how she explained in a simplified manner practical solutions offered by spatial analysis. Hello, Tin. Great
Thank
evening.
you.
Okay, so for everyone who would like to reach out and, extend this conversation with our speaker, Pat Algura, she sent us her email address. I will also be sharing this later on, siguro with our audience who are not able to share or join us here via YouTube. Okay, so at this point, if you don't have any more questions, we'll proceed with giving or thanking our speaker for tonight for her invaluable insights, for her time, no? Siguro Pat ang busy-busy mo ngayong mga araw na to, but thank you so much for agreeing to hold a lecture that, as mentioned by our audience, no, very informative, well explained, no, and really invited our audience to know more, no, about geospatial technologies as applied in the industry. So allow me to read the certificate of appreciation. The certificate of appreciation is given to Patricia Algura for sharing her valuable insights and expertise as virtual resource speaker for the talk, Geospatial Innovations for Efficient Infrastructures as part of Philippine Geographical Society Lecture Series 2021 held on November 17, 2021. This certificate is signed by the chair of the UP Department of Geography, Dr. Joseph Palis, and the president of the Philippine Geographical Society, Professor Emmanuel Garcia. Again, Pat, maraming salamat. Siguro, sana marami pang opportunities, no, na pwede mag-interact ang ating mga naging audience today and more people, no, in the future. And maybe we can have Pat Algura again sometime in the future. Thank you so much,
Thank
Pat.
you.